Full Metal Alchemist minus Aaron Dismuke.
It's Brotherhood without the brother.
Check. Okay, mine.
We're the full cast, by the way.
We're all of
The full cast.
We all play 9 characters.
Women and all.
I was Rose.
I was Rose first.
You were my Rose.
Well, we better not mess around. We don't have a lot of time. We took a while getting started.
Yeah, we have time for like 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
I'd like to apologize, first of all, because apparently I wasn't scheduled to be on this panel. So I'm crashing, technically. I'm crashing the panel. So
That's how much this man loves this show. Like, you literally can't keep him off. And some actors are like, oh, I'm not on that panel. Woo, I've got an extra hour to relax. But he's like, I will not have a panel, a Full Metal going on.
All 3 of these guys wrote to staff and said, please don't put Vic on the Full Metal panel. And then I was up in the green room and I overheard somebody saying, don't tell Vic that there's a Full Metal Alchemist panel. I'm like, what?
I think we traded another voice actor for Vic. It was equivalent exchange.
Oh!
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's from the show.
Wow.
To have that in the show, it's like one of the themes.
No way.
Yeah.
You know what? We want to talk to you guys. So this microphone right here is for the purpose of you coming up and asking a question. So if somebody wants to be the first to break the ice, come over here. Right here. Microphone.
We could even ask you to line up. Go ahead and make a cue if you have a question.
Sorry.
But if you, so it's just line up down this aisle, okay?
And form yourself into a shape of a cube.
Okay, hush you. But if you aren't first in line, maybe you could sit like on your knees or on the floor so everybody over here can still see us through you. Cool? So, yeah, perfect. Yes, love that. Great, 10 questions? Cool. This is just enough questions to fill up 40 minutes. They're getting this mic to work here in the front.
All right, I think we have time for 1 more question. I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Really sorry about your arm, by the way.
It's working.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, it's real subtle, but it works.
So when you guys saw the picture of like Ed and Winry and the whole like new Elric family photo at the end of Brotherhood, what was your immediate reaction? Like, what were you thinking?
Finally! God.
My reaction was, it'll never last. Winry's gonna get tired of Ed very quickly.
Nah, she was gonna be tired of you. That would have happened already.
Good point.
All the breaking of automail and all the crap you put her through.
Yeah.
I think they'll be married for eternity.
I've said for years, what the hell is wrong with Ed? Like, Winry is so cute, and she can do stuff, you know, and she's a great friend, and she's saved his butt more times than he can count. And I would always say, man, whenever he gets off this crazy Philosopher's Stone crap, he better get back and get with Winry, because she deserves better. I heard her say better, and I just repeated it because it seemed right.
It was right. Okay. Thank you for your question.
What? Thank you, sweetheart.
My first reaction was, oh, that happened.
Okay, yeah, it's on.
You guys, what's Brotherhood without a brother? Aaron Dismuke!
He's so athletic.
Sit with me, brother.
That's my secret jogging skill.
Yeah, my question just is, I mean, it's a little big and existential, I guess, but really the best way I can put it is, you come to these cons and you see how many people are here for you and for this, I mean, when you guys started doing Full Metal, what, 13 years ago? Did you ever imagine that it would become this total phenomenon?
No, I would have worked much harder if I'd known. I was like, they were like having to bribe me with like Xbox breaks. I would play Halo during the session for a small amount of time. This actually happened because I was so like unappreciative of like what was going on and how my life would be altered.
Unappreciative and 12 years old. So
We
don't
had
be
been-
too hard on the guy, right?
We were directing Aaron on those video games, and there were moments like, all right, hey, dude, if we could just get through this next couple pages, you can play with this Bop It toy that they had.
I remember the Bop It, yeah. They gave me a Bop It afterwards. I really liked it.
And what was amazing is like with most kid actors, you have to spend a long time like just getting the right read. But that wasn't really the case with him at all. He always gave you like the appropriate read. You just had to kind of get him to focus to give you like 10 of them in a row.
Awesome.
I would have been way worse as old as you were when you started doing this. That was pretty cool.
Thanks.
So basically, I kind of missed the end of the question, but essentially, did we think that it would still be as important to as many people so many years later? Is that
Yeah,
essentially?
it's still this big cultural phenomenon.
I don't think I knew that it was special. I knew that there weren't other anime like it, and there hadn't been an anime like it in a while. But I guess I thought that the industry would flourish enough that every so many years another big, awesome, amazing thing would come along and take its place in the hearts of the fans. And that ends up not to be the case. I think what it is you guys have really big hearts, so you can love lots of shows. So, yeah.
You know, something weird happened with Full Metal with me that had never happened to any of the shows that I'd done before Full Metal. I had probably done 30 or 40 anime series before Full Metal, and as soon as Funimation announced the cast of Full Metal, something happened to me that never happened before. I started getting emails. Before we ever recorded one line, I was getting emails from fans that would say, "Hi Vic, I like your work, I've always been a fan, and I just heard you got cast as Edward Elric in Full Metal Alchemist. Don't screw it up." I was like, holy crap. Like, I never had gotten emails from people before we ever recorded anything saying, "You better not." You know, like there was such a love for the show even before it was done. So there was an enormous amount of, "Oh, I hope it's good, please be good, please be good." Everybody involved with it just knocked it out of the park. And it, you know, there was a lot of concern when it was released that, oh my gosh, it's just not gonna meet up to people's expectations. But we're so grateful that people have enjoyed it as much.
You have to also remember the time period, 13 years ago or whatever it was, like even 10 years ago, cons weren't the same as they are now. There wasn't as much pressure. When you would go to a con back then, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about like, oh, I heard you, like I saw the press release or something on the internet that you'd be playing this character. There wasn't as much of that going on. So Full Metal was probably one of the first things that most of us were just excited to work on it because we knew it was important. We didn't know exactly how people were going to react to it. We just knew that we had sort of a responsibility to do this one well. And there was this full effort. It was one of the Funimation's biggest efforts, I think, to date, of just truly trying to make something incredible from the get-go. Like they just knew they had to have something everyone was going to like, and everyone brought it. And Colleen she's popped out of nowhere to end up being a great director for that show, and Mike is, of course, incredible. It was just sort of a perfect storm, because Funimation had just got to the point where actors had gone from just working on Dragon Ball and Yu Yu Hakusho and sort of goofier shows, and it was moving into this era of doing realistic, beautiful, gorgeous animation.
Basket, and stuff like that.
And right at that moment is right during this time when kind of all the anime talent was just at its peak. Like there was, and not only that, we were being able to share. Like there was finally the door unlocked to be able to share the ability to use people from Houston and like at ADV, and all of a sudden, that's when the new flood of actors like Monica Rial and Greg Ayres and Vic and all these people started coming to Funimation to do work. So it was kind of a perfect thing that happened. There were all these great actors that were primed and ready to do something awesome at that very moment, and it just kind of, it was a lucky marriage between that and just one of the most beautiful, heartwarming shows I think any of us have ever worked on, really.
Yeah. It's a pretty remarkable phenomenon considering social media was not nearly anything. I mean, what existed? MySpace.
Yeah.
Facebook was barely a thing, but I remember like fans were finding a way to connect. They would get, like, it would air on Toonami and people were in like AOL chat rooms that they made, and like they would be kind of emailing us or sending us MySpace messages like, could we join them in such and such AOL chat and like talk about the show while it was on. And I still talk to some of those people. Some of those people are voice actors now. Like, I'm not kidding. It's really crazy. So it'd be interesting to see what if Full Metal Alchemist was happening for the first time now. Like how much more of a crazy like firestorm of a show would it be with the type of power we have?
Yeah, when you worked on that show, you just knew that you were working on something good because the music was always beautiful. And imagine, like, it's always tough to be an anime voice actor because you have this weird handicap of having to read the lines into another character's mouth. And there's kind of this language barrier, and the jokes they don't always fall the perfect way. But the one beautiful thing we have about being anime dub actors is that sometimes we get to be, if all the planets align, we get to have our headphones on, and all the music is playing, all the sound effects are playing, like you are in the show, working on that show. And if you're even luckier, you're one of the last people to record, all of the other actors are in there for you, and you just get to like, just tiptoe right through everybody else, and it's the most beautiful feeling. And that was one of the shows that you just couldn't help but do a great job on. Alex Louis Armstrong, people are like, how'd you come up with that voice? I'm like, I didn't. I listened to the Japanese guy, and he was one of the funniest things I've ever heard, and the character's one of the funniest things to watch. It was easy to put a voice into that character's, into that character's mouth. But yeah, this was there's no surprise to me that there are this many people here this many years later that still love the show.
Well, and new people discovering it all the time. People that were too young, or maybe not even around 13 years ago, whatever, so young. But now, new people. I keep thinking the same thing. I'm like, why would anyone really, that was a while ago, there's new stuff. But new people are discovering it every day.
Yeah, my 9-year-old nephew gets it.
I love it. And a lot of people have often said that it was kind of their gateway drug into anime. Like, I didn't like anime much. It wasn't into anime, but then I watched Full Metal, and now I'm into everything.
It still holds up pretty well. It's really beautiful to this day.
Yeah, I got that whole series. He adored it. Yeah, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Really, thank you.
We talk a lot.
This is less of a question and more of a VO request for Vic on behalf of a friend. Is that permitted?
For a friend?
Yeah, for a friend of mine.
What is the request?
I like that he's already rolling the camera. It's like you can't say no.
There's no backing out now.
Colonel Mustang looks darn sexy in a miniskirt.
Yeah, apparently it's a southerner saying looks darn sexy, right? Or maybe dadgum. Colonel Mustang look dadgum sexy in a miniskirt. You guys.
Can you do it as Forrest Gump? Can you do it as the Godfather?
I'm putting out the request now for like a cowboy Edward Elric. Spit out some tobacco after saying that.
Yeah, I want to publicly apologize to all the other voice actors who've ever been forced to say that stupid line.
I don't accept your apology.
Thank you.
Nothing would suck more than having to say one line over and over and over again.
About how many times do you think you've said it, Chris?
Thousands upon thousands.
Thousands of times.
Maybe.
At least your line was in the show. Like this Colonel Mustang dead sexy thing wasn't even part of the show. It was something I made up at a panel with Aaron and Travis. And
Straight from
then
his
they
heart.
they started asking one of my favorite stories about this kid. He called me one day and he's like, he was at a convention. I don't even know if he remembers this, but he was at a convention and he called me. He was in front of an audience and he said, they want me to say the Colonel Mustang line. And I was like, don't do it, man. Don't do it. You're gonna be sorry. This is a big brother, I'm telling you. And he's like, he hangs the phone up, and literally like 2 weeks later, he calls me and he goes, they won't let me stop saying it. Like I told you. I told you.
What did you say?
And then Sonny Strait. They started asking Sonny Strait to say it. Sonny's like, what? What the hell? What does this even mean? Poor voice actors just say this line and they have no idea what's...
He's not sitting down. I think he still really wants you to say it.
It's not going to happen. I hope you... Did you not get that impression? I love you, but it's not happening.
Well done, well done.
But a noble effort, to be sure.
Three more people get out of line.
So my question is, it's kind of a two-parter. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. The first one is, what is your favorite memory of doing Full Metal Alchemist? And the second question is, what is your favorite trait about your characters that you really like?
Favorite thing about doing the show, favorite thing about your character.
Patrick, you...
I have an answer for once.
Oh,
This thing. And for me, my favorite moment was the fight when suddenly Sloth 2.0, as I call him, like started moving really fast because his name is Sloth, and he's all like, "What up, man?" So you wouldn't think that, and then bam, it's like, zoom, 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 zoom. He's moving really fast. That was dramatic irony for me. Yep, that's all I got.
Best shows in Brotherhood. There were so many great moments for Alex Louis Armstrong when he has a sister, for one, Olivia. I loved his epic bro fist that he had, where he met like another fellow, like Sparkler, sort of, and in the closet Sparkler, kind of. They did their whole little fist bump thing, and his best quality, and that's something I sometimes lack, is just like unbridled enthusiasm and just. Yeah. I know. I may not always seem like the most enthusiastic person to you. But if I do, it's because of Alex Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, she does. You do look like Elizabeth Maxwell.
Oh, yeah.
You look a lot like Elizabeth Maxwell, a really talented voice actress that we know and work with. That's a good thing. She's
Yeah,
lovely.
it's good. Like a favorite thing about working on the show, there's a really rough scene to record in Brotherhood. It's Winry's confrontation with Scar regarding her parents. And it was special to finally get to do it because that is not the way events played out in the original animation. But I liked both stories. And I remember being at a convention when the original was airing on TV, and someone came up to me and showed me a Japanese manga where they're like, hey, P.S., here's how it really goes down. Bam. I'm like, oh. They said, Scar's really the one who did it, and then look at this scene where this happens. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Too bad I'll never get to perform that. And then like 5 years later, I was. So that was really cool. A trait that I share with Winry, gosh, that's hard. I don't know. Anybody? Y'all? What's that? Do I pick on Vic a lot? Apparently. Apparently I do.
No, she's one of the dearest people I know on the planet. I think maybe one of the most really impactful moments for me was in the first series when I was doing the episode with Barry the Chopper, and it was the scene when, at the end of the episode, after Barry chases Ed all over that, whatever it was, meat factory or whatever, had yanked Ed's arm off, right? And Ed was completely panicked and thought he was going to die for sure. And then Al shows up and saves him. And there's this moment where they're sitting on the steps outside at the end while they're taking Barry off in handcuffs. And Ed has this monologue. And I was doing the monologue, and I found myself choking up and tearing up. And that had never happened to me on any of the other shows I had done to that point. And it was that moment that I realized, wow, I really, really love these characters, and their relationship and this story is beyond anything I have done to date. And so it was that moment that really made me go, wow, this is really a special show. And from that point on, whenever Ed was very emotional or very moved by something, I was too.
I think the most impactful moments for me recording was probably just, I really liked, and I was learning, like, that show is like me being taught to act, but the drama to comedic switch-ups, like when his arm falls off, after he was, chiding Ed, those moments are what made like the drama feel so real. Because if it's like a series of unfortunate events kind of style, then it's hard to be to really feel for the characters because they do nothing but depress you. But once a character's made you happy a bunch, you really feel sad when they're sad. And so, yeah, those moments are what really engaged me with it. As far as things I have in common with Al, he's a really good, sweet person.
You have kittens in your pockets, don't you?
Yep.
Right now? Yep.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. They're just to distract people in case I get attacked, though. I just play them, and then I run the other way. A mugger's gonna be like, "What's wrong with you? You're just gonna abandon this kitten?" He drops his knife to go help it. And I'm scot-free, baby.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
So, my question for you guys really is kind of specific, but at the same time it's not, so just kind of take it where you will. But what I want to know is, when you guys found out that Brotherhood was being made, that they were going through with it, and that you guys were going to be the cast in it, I want to know what your first initial reaction was, what you thought, and even really what you did with that information once you found out.
I got you. I can't speak for the table, of course, but when that happened, I was directing and working for Mike McFarland, who was the co-director of the original show. He was my line producer, and I worked on things for him, like the Oron and all kinds of stuff. And he was not thrilled with the news, and I wasn't either, and everybody else can kind of say what they will about it, but we all loved the original show and felt like it was this amazing thing with this incredible experience with the fans wrapped up in it that we've all already spent the first part of this panel talking about. And Mike and Colleen really pulled out all the stops, as Chris mentioned, reaching everywhere they could to get cast from all over the place into this amazing thing. And it just felt like, what was wrong with what we already did? Why do we need more? And there was this thought of, well, the industry's kind of maybe hurting a bit. Maybe in Japan they think people still love Full Metal, it'll be a sure thing, let's just make more of it. So we were afraid that it was not going to be good. But we knew that Funimation was getting it, and Mike was like, I don't even want to work on it, you can just direct it. And I'm like, sweet, job security, okay. with people that I really like, so okay. But then when we got it and we started watching a few episodes, he's like, oh, no, this is good. I'm going to direct some too, and you're going to direct some. We're going to share. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. But it was really fun to start casting all the new characters that show up. So once we got going, then we liked it, and I think I personally like Brotherhood. I don't want to say better. It's different. For me, Winry's the same. She has some different experiences, but
Yeah, I was initially excited just because I loved the original show so much, and I was glad to get to do more. You know, there was just that simple kind of, oh great, you know, more working with these people and more with these characters and new places and new adventures. And then my second immediate reaction was, oh no, what if it's good? Like the first one hit on all cylinders, you know what I mean? Like everything about it was so good that the chances of something following it up not being as good are very high. I mean, we all have seen plenty of sequels, so we know how that goes. But then the third thought was when the fans started telling me that Brotherhood was going to follow the manga. And the reason that was important to me was because even during the original Full Metal, I'd go to conventions and people would come up in autograph sessions and say, I love Full Metal Alchemist, have you read the manga? And I would say no, and they would like, the manga is truly wonderful. So when I heard that it was going to follow the manga story, there was a bit of relief because I knew how much people loved the manga story. And it turned out to be an amazing series as well. But there was a lot of concern, like Caitlin said early on.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, there was a debate as to whether I should start taking birth control or whether it was already too late. We ended up like hedging our bets. I took like a little, and then like it didn't really. My voice didn't get much higher, so I stopped. That's how my little brother was born. Mom had to give me one of her, you know. So I auditioned for it, and I thought I was pretty.
Yeah, I can do this. My voice is totally high. Like, listen, I sound young. Try it. And then he's like, all right, so now we're going to do a P repeat of how you used to sound, Michael. And it's like closer to like Vic's impersonation than anything that I can do now. It was so high. I was like, what? That was me? How can anyone, like, how did I not break windows whenever I screamed? So I think Max did a really good job on Al, and it was really fun coming back for Hohenheim, young Hohenheim in that episode. It's kind of cool to be the dad, and ironically, like, you know, because it was like I wasn't able to do Al because I sounded too manly. Well, I'd never really played a manly character, and young Hohenheim ended up being the manly character
At that point, so I got to experiment with my low range a little, which was fun. Yeah.
And I just want to say, I'm an only child, and I always wanted a little brother. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding. He knows. And when we did this show together, he became not only in the show, but as a 12, 13-year-old kid, and we did all these conventions together, he became like this little brother that I never had. And I love Aaron to death. And even though Maxie killed it in Brotherhood, he will always be my adorable little brother that I love to death. So.
I always wanted a dad, and that's where Vic came in. I remember my first reaction to finding out about Brotherhood. Mike was like, all right, we're going to do line 26. And I go, is this a different show than before? And he goes, oh yeah, it's a new series. I go, oh, cool, that sounds neat. So, actually, I'm not sure. I think I heard about it later than other people. News didn't travel to me. Exactly. So I didn't really know until right before I recorded it. So I can't say I heard much. Anyway, take over, Dad.
What are you saying? Just one more.
Last question.